Sidney Blumenthal. Yeah. Yeah, I was saying Sidney Blumenthal, or AKA the fixer for the Clinton campaign.
Yeah. Well, so deep, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, meanwhile, back to the budget, because I know that's a big thing. And the military parade, I'm going to tell you, listener, Kimberly and yours truly here, we're like 190% behind the military.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that a lot of times we might be prejudiced when it comes to that. Did you see a report, Kimberly, where some of these stupid kids in America are now talking about, if we have a military parade, we will lie in front of the tanks?
Yeah. I'm not certain that Donald Trump is planning on having tanks and missiles going down the street. I really think that he's looking at it as that, you know what, we're watching all of these really bad awards out there with the BET awards and the Oscars and the Emmys and all of these awards that shows that everybody pats themselves on the back. And I think that what he looked at is when he went overseas, and he was in France in particular, he sat down and watched the military parade. It's basically giving thanks to the military. This isn't like we're going to go out and show off who's got a bigger button. This is giving thanks to the people who voluntarily put their lives on the line every single day for this country. Like, again, you're going to tick a very passionate subject for me on this. These men and women do not make an extraordinarily large amount of money. They don't ask for a whole lot. Now, while it's going to be fiscally responsible, or those are other things that we can debate on this issue, but having young people say they're going to sit in front of tanks, maybe they ought to leave the country and actually go see what it's like to live in another country where that is something that the tank will actually roll over you. This country's not that, and if we can't thank the men and women...
Make them sit down for a minute and a half and watch the video from Tiananmen Square.
Yeah, and see what's and see how far China's come and how not so far China's come, and how much more of a surveillance state they are. These young people ought to be worried about the surveillance state that we're becoming, and that it's okay apparently for the FBI and the CIA and the NSA to go out and spy on ordinary Americans, which they do every single day, collecting all of our emails, all of our texts, and yes, all of our phone calls. They do it every single day. Why are they not out saying that, wait a minute, we're becoming a completely surveillance police state here? Why are they not worried about that? They're worried about the fact that we're going to say thank you to the people who actually protect and are out there fighting and dying for this country, and they're doing it voluntarily? I don't get it.
And I think about a guest I have on every once in a while, Patrick Wood, and he's the author of Technocracy Now, and, gets all into the whole thing about hacking and all this stuff. It seems that the younger generation, Kimberly, they're very knowledgeable, about the iPads they have, and how, they got the wristwatch, it's like Dick Tracy, and
Yeah.
If people remember whoever the heck that guy was, right? Anyway, and they know how things are so smart, okay, so to speak, and how far we've advanced. But do you think they really worry about being overheard, in your bedroom or just sitting around? I got one of those, what is her name, Alexa?
Yeah.
I'm sitting there watching TV, I think it was last night or the night before. All of a sudden, she answered the question that was on TV. Not one peep from anybody in the room except the TV.
She answered the TV, yeah.
The TV didn't say, hey, Alexa, I said, what in the world?
Yeah. Well, these are very invasive programs, and and you have to think about this. These are all orchestrated and put together by Google. And I've written several stories about the NSA and about the origination of all this. And I've long believed that the NSA or the CIA or one of the top intel groups is actually Google, and they're one and the same. I mean, why, were we getting Google Maps and of the entire world, and it wasn't costing us anything? There's always a cost to somebody for these types of things. And so Google now has come out with Alexa, and we have smart TVs, and everything is, recorded. You know what? The intelligence community is actually out there listening, and what we're watching right now in this country, with the left media not really caring too much about it apparently when it happens against their person, but it looks to me like we are spying on political parties, which is something I've worried about. I've written about several years ago. I said I've interviewed William Biddy of the NSA, and he left the NSA saying, look, we already are there. We can do this thing. This is what we need to worry about. Well, now it's happening. And let me throw one thing out here about Donald Trump and Russia and all of these escapades that they're trying to throw his way. Let me just give an FYI again to everybody out there. The NSA hears everything. If there was evidence of Donald Trump's colluding with the Russians and an investigation started 16, 18 months ago about this, guess what? It's out there. And because we're going down road after road, and it's not Russia, and now it's just colluding, and now he didn't want investigate. We're going down so many different roads. You're inclined to believe that, hey, they just really don't want Donald Trump to be president, because if they have the information, they just need to go on over to the NSA, because it's all sitting right there. And trust me, if it was there, it would be out.
I don't know who said it, but I just heard it in the last couple of days. And the person, and it had to be on TV, I'm sure. But anyway, they said that whenever all of these Democrats were doing this stuff before the election, and Hillary's going to run and all this, they were so sure that Hillary Clinton was going to win. There was no way in hell that Donald Trump was going to be president.
Yeah.
And therefore, they knew nobody was going to be held accountable. It would never, ever go to court.
Yeah.
Because they were going to be in control.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, it backfired on them, and that might be your answer. It's like, they thought they didn't need all the information. Just hearsay, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, there's definitely, if they wanted information and there was information, it would be out there. That's just, it's, as we're watching everything unfold on TV, whether it's, Donald Trump, traveling from point A to point B and getting caught on a hot mic moment or whatnot. Everything is out there, and they have nothing on the president. And it's because he wasn't really a politician before, and he's, all of his dirty laundry has been aired out there. And they try to go after his kids, they go after his family, and they're going after John Kelly now in the White House for not responding the right way to something. And to me, it's like you're guilty before proven innocent, which is, flip-flop for this country. We're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, but not in this country anymore. The people, the media, the deep state are so threatened by this president, and he has nothing to gain by all of this. He was a wealthy man, and it's, and he's not perfect. No, he's not perfect. Nobody is perfect in this, but he's doing the best he can. And I think what scares the deep state, the mainstream media, and the left is that he doesn't care what they think and say. And he's just out, he's like, I'm going to put it out there for the American people. And they can either decide to run with it and say, look, we need to stop and about face and take back our country. Or they can just carry on down this road, and we're going to be nothing more than a banana republic. Because when we go after political opponents and we use political opposition research, as we did in the FBI, and now we're learning at the State Department, and we're learning that there's an IG report coming out at the state. There are so many, investigations going on that none of it's coming back to haunt Donald Trump. It's all coming back to haunt the Democrats. And it's because they did not think he was going to win. And they didn't think they needed to go to Wisconsin or Pennsylvania or any of the other, key states, because they felt they had this in the bag, and all of their polling stated they were going to win. These are the same people saying Donald Trump has a 40% approval rating. they didn't get the elections right. And I don't think that they get the pulse right. I just got back from Washington, D.C., and it's so different there than it is here out in America. It's so much different.
I had a guest on, I think it was just Frank Benicio,
Mm-hmm.
and he was talking about that one of the polls that are out with millennium
Mm-hmm.
are that the majority of millennials say that they would rather live under socialism or communism rather than the American democracy.
Yeah. That's how uneducated they are. That's your educators failing this country.
Yeah, but and here's the thing though, is if you're a Democrat, okay, and and I know so many people that used to use the phrase, well, and I would, you could ask them, why are you a Democrat? Well, because they're for the working man and woman of America. Well, here's the thing is, why did all of a sudden when Nixon had 3 or 4 people try to spy on the competition, for the election,
Mm-hmm.
he resigned and it's the end of the world. But the standards are different now. It's
Yeah.
like, well, no, we're gonna spend a year in investigation. Why is it that whenever Obama, remember the hot mic you mentioned a while ago,
With
whenever
Russia, yeah.
he was whispering to the guy and didn't know the mic was on, and you tell Putin after the election, I'll have more leeway, I think was the word he used, leeway.
Yeah. Well, what about telling Romney during the other election, the other presidential election, saying, the 80s are calling back Romney, the Russian deal, I mean, they want their foreign policy back from the 80s. We don't have issues with the Russians. I mean, this is a president that President Obama had wasn't too concerned about the Russians during his entire 8 years, and now all of a sudden the Democrats are like, oh my gosh, it's Donald Trump wants to be buddies with the Russians. Man, we need to stop this right now. It's insanity.
And then we find out there were 2 dossiers
Yeah.
going to steal.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
It's not pretty. It's not pretty. Hopefully somebody will come out with it.
For all future generations, we gotta hope they get this one right. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? That somehow they gotta get it right.
Yeah.
I don't know if they will or not. And here Steyer, we talked about him before.
Yeah.
He spent like $40 million already hiring a bunch of new people now because their main thing is to get Donald Trump impeached.
Yeah.
Whatever way they can do it,
Yeah, and they're doing it with TV shows on TV. They're doing it on advertisements during, key issues that are going on in Washington, D.C. I mean, you watch any of the TV shows, it's just, for the life of me, I mean, if the Republicans or the conservatives have any chance at any of this, they need to learn to turn off the TV and not watch the networks, and they need to actually get involved and perhaps buy, there are some wealthy, Republicans out there. Why aren't they buying TV stations? And why aren't they buying studios to make movies? And why aren't they, putting out different, TV shows? I guess we're going to see Roseanne's going to come back to TV, and we'll see what that's all about. But, the millennials are so, they watch their TV screen, they watch their computer screen, their phone, whatever it is they have in front of them. They always have something on. And if the Republicans or the conservatives don't get involved in this and actually provide a counter narrative, then there is just going to be nothing left of this country. It's not going to happen next week, and it's not going to happen 5 years from now, but it's going to happen, 20 years from now. And it's going to be very sad. We look back now and we think we're old. We're looking back at the good old days. I mean, just think what it's going to be like if these young kids are growing up and they're growing up in a world where they have no idea what the rest of the world's doing. They have no idea that China is actually the dominant country, and they have the long plan, and they work hard, and they're educating their people, and they actually will be taking over the world. Doesn't mean we can't get along with them and help them rule the world. We don't need to be the sole dominant power, I don't believe, but we're allowing China, in essence, And we're not talking about them, but we're talking about China in essence being the absolute controller of the world, and it's going to happen in 5, 10, or 15 years, and it's sad.
The Democrats putting out the word, to these youngsters, oh, the Republicans, they have too much money. That's all they care about is money, 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 money. But then behind the scenes, what they're doing and how much they're making. Nancy Pelosi, I mean, golly, unbelievable.
Yeah.
She's trying to get special passes for two $1 million homes,
Yeah.
I mean, anyway, we're going to take our final break. We'll be back. Kimberly Dvorak, who is streaming live at the moment at periscope.com. That's right, you can check that out. You can also go to her thekdreport.com. That's thekdreport.com. Be back.
Yeah.
Do you think that Hillary's got a third plan now that she's working on two of these dossiers?
Well, I mean, I don't know that, Hillary, Clinton necessarily has a plan for this. I mean, I think that the Democrats are doing everything they can to undermine the president, undermine Republicans. Unfortunately, Republicans aren't really helping themselves right now either. They're not getting in front of any of these messages. And, it's going to be a really, interesting ride if the Democrats win the House, because, of course, day one, they'll start impeachment proceedings on the president, and because you've got a lot of people, I mean, and let's face it, it's California, New York, and it's states that, aren't going to get favorable, tax benefits for the wealthy on their $1 million homes. They've been saying for years they want to pay more in taxes. Here's their opportunity. They don't want to pay more in taxes. So, I mean, it's a narrative out there that, in California, again, it's a small bubble of people. And it's unfortunately in academia, and it's in a lot of the universities, and they're basically saying that Donald Trump is he's done all of these treasonous things, but you ask young people, you ask people when they say he needs to be impeached, you ask them for what, and they're like, oh, he's not a nice person, he said some mean things, and there's not really anything behind it. But when you get a whole group of people who are motivated, and they have a lot more enthusiasm, and we know back in 2010 the Tea Party created a lot of enthusiasm, and right now you've got Democrats doing that. So, I mean, it's not that the president has done anything wrong so far that we've seen, and like I've said earlier with NSA and all of our intel community, if there was something, trust me, it'd be out there already. They're trying to create something, I think, at this point, that you have to say that it's the elite media, it's the elite politicians, both Democrat and Republican. It just seems to me that you've got, Mitch McConnell, who's the leader of the Senate. He's not really on the president's side. He's not really doing anything to deflect from these narratives, and that's going to come back to hurt them. But I just think that when you go to the Beltway and you come back and you talk to people who aren't inside the political bubble, there are a lot of people that voted for the president. And they may not vote in the midterms in those numbers, but you know what? They like the president, and they are seeing an economy that's growing, and their wages for the first time are growing, and the unemployment is growing, and they're going to get a tax relief. It's going to be hard to vote against somebody who lowers your taxes. That's just the bottom line.
Like the mainstream newspapers.
Yeah.
Stock market falls again.
Yeah.
Falls again. But when it's shooting, like a rocket, they put it on page 3.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing, with all the work Hillary's doing, you ain't going to win again, lady, all right?
No.
Now, you think you're going to run Oprah Winfrey, but my God, she can't win. She's a TV celebrity. Have you ever heard those words before?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, listen, all out of time, lady. The best place to go is the kdreport.com. You got all your links there, right?
Yep. I've got everything there.
All right, and get your streaming live at periscope.com.
All righty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.